think most teachers can recognise the value of group work, of getting your students to work collaboratively together, but most of us recognise that there are difficulties and challenges that come out of that. Things like motivating students to actually go off and carry out group work independently, and ensuring that there's equitable participation amongst the group, and also ensuring that the time that you're giving up in class is being used valuably. And I think there are a few key strategies that can be used to try and mitigate that. So for instance, I would strongly recommend that you make sure that your group work tasks are goal orientated. You give your students a shared goal and a shared output for them to achieve. In order to do that, you need to give your students very clear expectations. What are your expectations of what they're going to do, how much effort it should take, how long should it take them, what should each individual be doing in that group? Make that very clear to your students. And it'll be easier for them to go ahead and achieve that. That also relates to scaffolding your students into tasks. If you know that in your module your students are going to be doing complex group work tasks, then you should start by scaffolding them with simpler, easier to complete tasks, and they build up their confidence and abilities and their skills in contributing to group work. That means also that when you get to the more complex tasks, you should provide for your students very clear steps and stages that you want them to go through. Again, it goes back to your expectations, but also just clarity for students in instruction. And it's not your role to step away and purely let the students work independently, because in order to mitigate some of those issues that I mentioned, you do still have to monitor and facilitate the groups, check in on what students are doing, and perhaps manage any disputes or differences or difficulties that they're having. And finally, a sticking point for a lot of teachers is on whether you should assess the output of group work. Again, there's a challenge around the fairness of assessing what a group produces when perhaps not every member has contributed equally. My advice on that is always to assess an individual output from group-based work. So the students are being assessed on their own piece of work that they contribute based on what the students have done collaboratively.